You know him, you love him, you want some more of him. The Voiceover Doctor, a real smooth talker. The Voiceover Doctor Show.
Oh, hi, everybody. Hi. Hey, welcome to the very first Voiceover Doctor talk show. I am here today with my very first guest.
Aren't you supposed to say, I'm the Voiceover Doctor?
Oh, I'm the Voiceover Doctor. I'm Bill Holmes. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here today with my very first guest, Mr. Bob Bergen. Bob,
extremely honored to be the first patient.
You are my Bill Murray to David Letterman. You know, Bill Murray was always David Letterman's first guest.
Wow. I prefer first patient.
Oh, first patient.
Yes.
All right. Well, first patient. Okay. All right. So Bob, this is a talk show that we put together here to just kind of give some information. You are well known within the voiceover community, correct?
And my mom.
Both your parents.
Both my parents, yes.
I know you pretty well. You're best known for, why don't you tell the folks?
Well, it's like you use the pig. And that wasn't even doing the pig, that was just me. I'm most known as the pig.
The voice of Porky Pig, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, for 20 years.
For 20 years,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
So, you know what? Just briefly tell us kind of how you got started in the voice. I know there are a lot of people who know you. I mean, people.
And there's a lot who don't.
But there's a few people out there who don't know you. So tell everybody kind of how you got started within the voiceover business.
Wanted to be Porky Pig since I was 5.
Okay.
That was my goal in life.
Yeah.
And my mom said, you can't be Porky Pig, you're Jewish.
Okay.
And I didn't quite know what that meant because we had a Christmas tree next to the menorah. You know,
okay.
that kind of Jew.
Right, yeah.
And
so you were Jewish.
Ish, exactly.
Yeah,
very good. I get a royalty for that. My dad moved the family to L.A. when I was 14.
Uh-huh.
And I just figured, Mel Blanc's old. And I'm sure he would love to retire if somebody just gave him the opportunity.
And how old was Mel Blanc at the time?
At that time, he was probably late 60s.
Okay.
But I'd seen him on TV,
right.
and he was in a car accident in the 1960s.
Really?
Yeah. He was in a coma.
But I mean, if he was in
not
a
when
car
I called him, but he was.
No,
in a
but
coma.
I mean, if he was in a car accident, wouldn't like the car just magically be okay? And
Wouldn't
then he
you
gets
think?
out. You know, he's the cartoon
and then it would
guy.
dissolve to the next scene, and meep.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So anyway.
So I just
no disrespect to Mel Blanc.
None at all.
No.
He's dead. It's all right.
Yeah. Okay.
I picked up the telephone. I figure I'll just call Mel Blanc.
Really?
Just tell him I'm here.
Okay.
And if you'd like to retire, can I oblige?
Yeah.
And I looked in the phone book and I couldn't find his name. And my dad tells me, well, LA's big, and there's a different, white page phone book for every area.
Right.
So he went around Southern California, and he got me every white page. I mean, Beverly Hills and Burbank and Pasadena, and I had a stack of white page phone books.
Right.
And I am calling every blank in the book, and I couldn't find Mel Blanc. And I thought, well, maybe he's listed under his wife's name. So I called. His wife's name was Estelle, which
And you knew this.
Because I stalked him. And I knew this because anytime he'd be on TV, I had my little portable tape recorder. It was before VCRs.
Right.
And I would record anything he was on. And I remember him being on a kid's talk show called Wonderama.
Oh.
And he said, my wife's name is Estelle. So I looked for Estelle Blank. I found E. Blank in the Pacific Palisades phone book.
Okay.
And it was his home. And he said, how did you get my number? And I told him, I remembered your wife's name was Estelle. And I saw you on... So... I didn't say I'd like to be Porky Pig during that conversation because I just felt it was tacky to do.
Yeah.
But I told him I'd like to do what you do. I want to do voices for cartoons. And he says, have you ever created any characters? And you've got to create, you've got to get an agent, etc. And by the way, I bugged the conversation.
So yeah, actually you have a
it's on my website.
It's on tape. So if you go to bobbergen.com, you can actually listen to this conversation.
Yeah, it's a page called Cool Clips. And it's 100% illegal to do this. Don't tape somebody without them knowing.
And for God's sakes, don't tell anybody that it's out there.
Never go on broadcast.
No.
No. So during the course of this conversation, he mentioned the name of the studio he was working at that week. He didn't say the day or the time. He mentioned the studio. So I called the studio, and I said, I'm calling to confirm Mel Blanc's appointment for this Thursday at 9. And they said, well, we've got him on the books for Wednesday at 11. I went, that's right. I'm looking at the
Wednesday
wrong
at
book.
11.
So I said to my mother, I'm skipping school on Wednesday, and you're going to take me to watch Mel Blanc work. And she said, cool. So When we got to the studio, I told the receptionist that we were guests of Mel Blanc, and she
Yeah.
said he's in there. And when I walked into the recording studio, I said to the producer that I was a friend of the receptionist, and she said, have a seat. And I watched him work, and it was just like, if you're a kid into baseball in the
Right,
time,
yeah.
and
It's
you're
like
looking
Mickey
at...
Mantle.
Exactly,
is
exactly.
At the plate, and you're this close to him.
And it was extraordinary to watch him work, and watching him do Bugs Bunny and look like Bugs Bunny, and he would do Porky Pig, and when I do my Porky, I kind of look like him. I emulate his facial expressions and his body language that he would do because it helps me get into character.
Yeah.
And so I realized at that session, he's still Porky Pig. So I went back to the phone and I called Hanna-Barbera.
Okay.
And they were...
Now, Hanna-Barbera at the time was the
cartoon.
For
television.
It was the cartoon place to go for television.
Yeah, this was in the late 70s, and they were doing... This is when they still had Saturday morning cartoons.
Because Warner Brothers bought them up, right? Way back when?
Yes. Warner's owns the Hanna-Barbera Library, the MGM Animation Library, and, of course, the Warner Brothers Classic Library.
I mean, in case anybody is out there wanting to try to do what you did... You want to go to Warner Brothers.
Yeah, but not for another 50 years, if you don't mind. So I called Hanna-Barbera. They referred me to a guy named Dawes Butler. And Dawes was almost every voice that Mel Blanc wasn't. Dawes was Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound, Captain Crunch, Elroy Jetson, Quick Draw McGraw. And I called Dawes, and Dawes was like, oh, yeah, I got a little workshop. And his workshop was in back of he had a guest house in back of his home. And he walked into this guest house.
So you're saying that Dawes Butler invited young 14-year-old boys to come to the guest house in back of his home to do funny voices.
I didn't realize it at the time, but he also said, would you like to hold on to a stuffed animal? No, Dawes was a very nice guy.
No, I'm teasing. I revere Dawes Butler.
I didn't realize he was a pervert, but
No. Just when he told the story.
It sounded horrible, didn't it? Yeah.
Really, I would have said, no, son, don't go.
I will tell you that he ended up towards the end serving the same damn butter cookies every single week, and none of us had the heart to say, you're not supposed to be green, Dawes. But Dawes had a workshop, and he wrote all of his scripts, and his work, the guest house, it looked like Hanna and Barbera had vomited all over the place. It was thousands of characters, stuffed animals, cells, scripts of all the stuff he'd done.
That must have just been.
And over the years, my fellow students were people like Nancy Cartwright and Corey Burton, Mona Marshall, Patty Paris, Greg Burson.
Yeah, I mean all the people who are still actively
who became
in the animation,
very successful animation voice actors. And Dawes wrote everything. His whole thing was all about acting, and physically playing the character. Because when he did Yogi Bear, he would stick his chest out, and he did him like this, because it was a great big chest voice.
Yeah.
And watching him do the physical, it's one of the things I teach my students. If you physically play the character, the voice will follow.
Right.
I studied with Dawes off and on for 10 years, along with everybody else that offered a class in voiceover. The classes were $10 a week back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've gone up.
It's gone up a little
bit.
Yeah. I don't know who does that.
Yeah, my mom actually keeps saying you should raise your prices. And I said, Mom, you had a fit when they went to 12.
Now, what do you think, Dawes? I mean, you've worked with Dawes Butler. You've met the man.
Yeah.
And he's no longer with us.
Right.
I mean, what do you think he would think of the whole Yogi Bear thing going on now? The new cartoon coming up.
Oh gosh, you don't have enough time on this show.
Really?
Yeah, Dawes. June Foray is still with us. Bless her heart.
Yeah.
Don't get her started.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Is she in the film or not?
No.
No?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
I will tell you this. I thought Justin Timberlake did a damn good boo-boo.
I heard that too, and I was
pissed me off a lot that he did a damn good boo-boo.
And Dan Aykroyd is not doing a bad Yogi Bear.
When I first heard his Yogi Bear, he sounded like Rodney Dangerfield, and it was getting bad reviews on the forums. And I'd like to find out, did they have him go back and redo it? Because it sounds okay now.
Well, Dan Aykroyd, if you're out there and you hear this, let us know.
Dial 555.
Did you have to go back in?
I'm just curious because it did sound pretty good. But
yeah.
when I auditioned for Space Jam years ago, and the casting director told me that they were thinking of Jack Lemmon for Porky Pig. And I said, well, why would you do that? And they said, well, he stammers when he talks.
Yeah.
And I said, how can you change a classic character?
Yeah.
And she said to me, well, lots of people have played James Bond. And I can't win that argument. I just can't win that argument. So what do I think of the celebrities doing the classic characters?
Yeah.
Bugs me a lot.
Does it?
Yeah. The celebrities doing animation is nothing new.
Right.
Disney always used celebrities. But but they only did like a film every 5 years.
Right.
Now there's, a film every 5 minutes being released. There's a really nice, talented group of voice people that can handle a lot of this work, and it's being taken away from them because a lot of the guys in the tower think that marquee will bring in box office, and it's not true. It's not true.
Yeah.
So, honestly, if Aykroyd were the absolute best, I'd say, yeah, okay, well, he was the absolute best. But there's a lot of people out there that, trained to do this that...
Well, I haven't seen Yogi Bear yet.
I haven't
so
either. I have not seen it.
It'll be interesting to see.
I have not seen it, but the clips I've seen, damn, that Timberlake kid is talented.
So you took all these classes. You started working in the business. How did you kind of get your first job?
Let's see. Well, my first agent I got through a connection of a cousin.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I'll backtrack a little bit. I met a lady at a party through my cousin who was a bank teller.
Right.
And I was 16, and she said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I want to be Porky Pig. And she said, that's really strange. And a couple of years later, she called me up, and she said, I may have a job for you if you still want to do cartoons. And I said, you work at a bank? Mm-hmm. And she said, well, no, I used to work at a bank. I'm now the head of talent for Marvel Productions, and we're doing a new cartoon called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
And I said, oh, okay. She says, would you like to come down and audition for it? I said, sure. I was just graduating high school at the time, and a friend of the family knew Casey Kasem, and asked Casey to send me an autographed picture for my high school graduation, and I sent him a thank you note. Dear Casey Kasem, thank you so much for the picture. P.S. I want your job. And I put my phone number down, and he called me up, and he asked me a whole bunch of business questions. He said, do you have a demo? And 4 years of classes, nobody had said the word demo to me. I don't think Dawes had a demo.
Yeah. I don't think Dawes needed
I don't think Dawes needed a demo, He asked me if I had an agent. I had never heard agents were necessary. I thought he said, does your member sag? Which I thought, whoa, I thought this is just cool because Casey Kasem's a perv.
Yeah.
He asked me if I was a SAG member.
Right.
And I didn't know what that meant either. He asked me to make a homemade demo, which, as you know, you can't do today because it's too competitive.
Right.
Excuse me. Made him a homemade demo. He gave it to his agent, Don Pitts, who called me up, and he said, kid, you're very talented. I'd like to represent you. Yeah. And I said, I don't know what that means, but as long as it's after 3 because I got school, that's fine.
Right.
And so that same week, I got a call from the bank teller asking me if I wanted to audition for Spider-Man.
Wow.
I got that job. I got my SAG card.
Really?
Yeah.
That was the first job you had?
Job.
You were the voice of Spider-Man?
No, it wasn't Spider-Man. It was on Spider-Man.
Oh, on
It was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and I was an amazing friend.
Oh, okay, right.
And I called Don Pitts, and I said, I got you 10%.
Yeah.
And he was happy. And then I worked as a tour guide at Universal Studios for 5 years, and occasionally worked. And it took me 5 years of auditioning off and on to eventually leave the day job and work as a full-time actor. So.
Wow. And do you enjoy being the pig?
I love the pig.
Is that your favorite character?
Totally.
That you do?
I got into the business because, in fact, it's interesting. I was a working voice actor. It was Mel Blanc died in 1989, and in 1990, my agent called me up, and she said, they're holding auditions for the Looney Tunes. And, of course, I got you an audition. And I said to her, if I don't book this, I probably will quit the business. And she said, well, you're on a couple of cartoon shows, and you got some national commercials running right now, and I get 10% of this. Don't be hasty.
Yeah.
And I said, no, this is really the only reason I went into the business. And the odds of me living in the town at the time with an agent and being able to do it were kind of sort of against me when I was the kid saying to my parents, I want to be Porky Pig at 5 years old. So it was a lot riding on this opportunity. And I auditioned like a dozen times, for this character, and eventually got my first job, which was Tiny Toons, and then another job, and then another job. Right. 20 years doing the character, I don't have a contract. None of us who do classic characters are contracted.
Right.
I had auditioned for him last year. I was here. Remember?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
I do remember, yeah.
I had to... Can I say the F word?
Sure.
I had to
fucking
teach a class right after I got a phone call from my agent saying, hey, I know you did the pilot for this new Looney Tunes show, but you have to audition for him again.
Now in the audition,
Yeah.
as I recall the story, because you came to me and you were quite angry about having to audition again, and they asked you to come in with a monologue.
No, that was a different project.
Oh, that was a different
Yeah.
project. Let's go to that.
Okay.
Let's go to that because that's a great story.
That was Looney Tunes Back in Action.
Okay.
And I have auditioned for Porky 4 times since I first got the job.
Okay.
Re-auditioned, I should say.
Yeah.
Looney Tunes Back in Action. They didn't want us to read from the script. They want us to bring in monologues.
Uh-huh.
A classical monologue, a contemporary monologue, and an upbeat song and a ballad.
Yeah.
And I asked my agent, "Can I have fun with this? I've played this character at the time. It was 13 years. Can I have
Yeah.
fun with this?" And,
Yeah.
and my agent said, "You can do whatever you want." So I had Porky do Hamlet's To Be or Not to Be.
Okay.
And
Can you give us a little?
To be or not the opposite. That is the question, folks.
And I had Tweety do an excerpt from the Vagina Monologues.
Oh, my gosh. Oh,
Because
my gosh.
there was a line in the Vagina Monologues.
Okay.
There's a whole section where they're just
I'm guessing you
describing-
said putty a lot.
It said there's a lady in Great Neck that calls it a pussycat.
Yeah.
Now, the question I usually get was, how do you know this?
Yeah.
I've never seen the Vagina Monologues, okay?
Yeah.
But when I was asked to do
A
this
monologue.
audition
Yeah.
and this monologue, I went to Samuel French and I went, there's got to be putty somewhere in the Vagina Monologues. And I'm thumbing
would
through it and I went, there's my putty!
So, do you mind as this
Why are
is-
you so worried about their vaginas? There's a lady in Great Neck who calls it a putty tat. Her mama used to say, "No, don't wear your panties underneath your pajamas. You need to air out your putty tat."
And I won't do any more than that because it's a lot more than putty tat.
Oh my God, that must have been hilarious.
And I got the job.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah. But,
yeah, well,
but at the-
obviously you're still the voice.
But at the audition, the director goes, this tape goes nowhere. And I never heard it anywhere. I figure it's got to pop up on YouTube or something.
Well, again, if there's somebody out there in the YouTube world,
If you've got Tweety doing the Vagina
if you have
Monologues,
it, get it on
call
there.
555.
Or call us right here at
Yeah.
Compost
Is the
Productions.
caller there?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
No. we have a bit of a low budget for this one.
I
though.
understand. They don't even do callers anymore in shows, do they?
Well, listen. Here's what we're gonna do.
What are we
We're
doing?
gonna take a quick commercial break.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
And then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk to Bob about him teaching classes. And you just wrote a new book, or
I am
you're
in the process of writing a book,
Of writing
yeah.
a book, and we're gonna talk about that. So we'll be right back.
Cool.
Why have a good time in any old t-shirt when you could be wearing these? Voiceover Doctor t-shirts. Everyone is wearing one. Girls are wearing them. Guys are wearing them. Perfect for the everyday nerd. Or athlete. Even the big bad bully is wearing a Voiceover Doctor t-shirt. Wear them with your friends. Or your significant other. Or your significant other. Whoever you are, you'll have to agree. It's for you. And it's for me. The Voiceover Doctor t-shirt. Here's how to order. To get your Voiceover Doctor t-shirt, send your name and address the check or money order for $19.95 to Compost Productions, 2219 West Olive Avenue, Suite 215, Burbank, California, 91506, or call 818-567-1489. Operators are standing by, or at least somewhere in the building where they can hear the phone. That's 818-567-1489. Get your Voiceover Doctor t-shirt today.
Okay, we're back. I am here with my guest, Bob Bergen. And Bob,
Yo.
you teach animation classes now.
I do.
And you've been teaching for how long?
I just started my 24th year.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
I mean, I've been teaching a long time, but that is... that's a
I know.
long time.
I know.
Yeah. And now, why did you get into teaching? What set
I
that
had-
in motion?
I had no desire to teach.
Really?
I was doing a play.
Uh-huh.
And in my bio in the program, it said that I do voiceovers and cartoons. And this
Mm-hmm.
guy came up to me and he said, "I'm opening up a school. Would you like to teach?" And I said, "I have no desire to teach, but thank
Yeah.
you for asking."
Yeah.
And then I got a call from the SAG Conservatory.
Okay.
And they said, "Would you like to teach an occasional seminar?"
Right.
And I said, "What do you pay?" And they said, "Nothing."
Nothing.
And
Yeah.
I said, "What do the people pay?" And they said, like $10 a year for the whole darn thing.
Right.
I thought, okay, this is great because let me see if I can teach. And if I suck, I will have no Jewish guilt for taking money.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did that for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I called this guy with the school and I said, "If you're still interested, I'll teach for you."
Mm-hmm.
So I taught for him for a year. about a year and a half, and then I went out on my own, and I enjoy it. I dig it. It's fun.
Right.
I tried teaching a commercial class, and I suck. So I leave that up to you people.
Well, thank you. We appreciate it over here.
Yeah, so that's how I got into teaching.
It's funny because I got started very similar.
Oh, yeah?
Circuit. Yes, I was asked to teach by a woman. Her name is Kat Lehman.
Yeah.
And I really didn't want to do it, and I just thought, well, I'll give it a try. But then I actually taught for a year, developing the system for free on weekends.
Did you?
Yeah. My partner, who's behind the camera here, Dave Burgess,
Right.
and,
And
two other people.
The one with the falsies?
No, that's somebody else.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, we would do every Sunday night, and I would just give it away to people because like you, I was like, well, I don't know if I know how to do this or not. But I agree. I really enjoyed doing it, and it turned into this kind of business of people. Again, it's all word of mouth, as it is with you,
It's
right?
nothing but word of mouth. And I have to tell you, my class has changed and evolved a lot since that first day. I've got somebody starting my class next week. She took my class originally 20 years ago. And I said, I got news for you. It got good.
Yeah.
I mean, I learn from my students. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I mean, it. One of the reasons I started teaching is it made me a better actor.
Of course it did.
Yeah,
Of course it did.
And all the directing I've been doing over the years, it just makes you go, oh, well, I should be doing that, and so on and so forth.
And I will take notes when I give a student direction. I'll go, that's good. I'll use that, and I'll write it because I can't think on my feet when I'm acting.
Yeah.
The way I can when I'm directing.
Yeah.
But my class has evolved over the years. I have a formula to it now. It's structured. But when I started, it was like, let's try this, let's try that.
Right. Exactly.
And so now I've got a technique of how to create characters. I've got a syllabus.
I really didn't even realize I analyzed the script the way I did.
Exactly.
Until I had to explain it to somebody else. And that's when I kind of went home and said to my wife, I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm actually pretty good at this.
And I will have people say to me, does Maurice LaMarche do this? Does Rob Paulson do this? Does Tara Strong do this? And my answer is, I don't know because I'm not in their head, but chances are, without even thinking or
Without
trying,
thinking about it, yeah.
organically, that's their process.
Because I don't think about it anymore.
Not at all.
We've been doing it for so many years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I had to give a structure of how to create characters
Right.
so they had something tangible
Right.
that they could take with them when the class is over
Right.
and continue creating characters.
Yeah.
But, over time, when you get a piece of commercial copy and you're just auditioning here for your agent, you're not, okay, what do I do?
No,
Who am I talking to?
I liken it to driving a car. When you were a kid, you'd set the mirror and you'd look and everything 10 o'clock,
2 o'clock, there you go,
yeah,
all right.
And then, but now you get in the car and you do all that stuff, 10 miles down the road, you're at your destination.
Unless you see a cop or your agent or whatever, and you all of a sudden you do what you're supposed to do.
For God's sakes, don't talk on the phone.
Not while you're doing voiceover.
And no drinking and driving.
Or a voiceover.
Okay, so well, that's really interesting. Now you were in the process of writing a book.
I am.
Where's the genesis of that? What made you go, there's just not enough books in the world?
Well, that's what happened. I had people saying to me, you should write a book. And I'm like, they've all been written.
Right.
Carrie Apple has a book. Rodney Salisbury has a book. Elaine Clark has a book. They're all good books.
Right.
And they basically teach you, the basics.
The basic structure of how to approach a script and so on and so forth.
And, things have changed technically since some books have been released. But, technique is technique.
It's primarily all the same.
And I'm like, I don't need to write a book. They've all been done.
Right.
And then I'm thumbing through these books, and I'm like, okay, they teach you technique, and then they get to the part about you need an agent. Write a cover letter, send out your demo. And then once you get I'm like, wait a minute. It's not that easy to get an agent.
Right.
In fact, I think getting an agent is harder than getting a job.
I think so too. I mean, primarily when I'm making a demo for somebody, you're basically paying to make the demo to go get an agent.
You bet you are.
The agents, yes, they use the demos for certain things. They put them on their website and stuff. But for the most part, once you have an agent, the agent's going to do most of the work for you, and the demo is going to be a tool for them.
It's a tool.
Yeah. But really, what you're spending money on a demo is to go get that agent.
No matter where you live, no matter what market you're in, that demo is to get an agent interested in what you have to offer.
Right. Exactly.
So I get emailed, as I'm sure you do all the time,
Right, yeah.
how do you get an agent?
Mm-hmm.
And I was finding that my answer was questions. Where do you live? What style of voiceover are you looking to do? Because if you want, everybody has to do commercials, as you know.
Right.
But if you want to do animation and network promos, you're going to be in LA.
Right.
Are you in a right to work state? Are you union or non-union, et cetera, et cetera? So I decided I do have a book to write. I want to write a resource guide for actors to strategically shop for agents no matter where they lived.
Really?
So what I've done, excuse me, I have decided to interview every voiceover agent in the U.S. and Canada and ask them each. Now this was my original goal for this book.
Right.
Ask every agent the same 50 business questions.
Okay.
So this way, if you live in Orlando,
Right.
you go to Orlando, there's a list of 5-10 agents. You can see exactly what they're looking for. Well, I live in Orlando, but I want to move to Denver. Let's say, here's how I need to adapt
But
my
that is a
marketing tools for
great
Denver.
idea. That's a very good idea.
Well, what I've discovered by starting my research and my interviews is that agents are as different
Oh, okay.
and individual as the actors.
Okay.
And I went to 50.
And these days too, you can have an agent in Colorado.
Well, that's
you
just
can have an agent
depends
in
on
New
the
York
agent.
and Atlanta.
It depends.
Yeah,
One of my
right.
questions is, are your clients allowed to have other agents outside of you?
Right.
Most yes, some no.
Right. Right.
All of them will say, I'd like to be their primary agent in this market.
right.
But my questions were everything from, do you prefer MP3 or CD submissions from actors to look for representation?
Right.
Is packaging important? What catches your attention on a cover letter? Should they
Right.
follow up with a phone call? What are your pet peeves that you hate actors to do? If you represent an actor, what can they do in conjunction with you to be proactive in their career? All the questions that is it okay for your actors to call you every once in a while to check in?
Right.
And what shouldn't they say?
Right.
Do you prefer emails rather than phone calls? What's the most professional way for an actor to drop you? All the questions that you ask
How
in
do
your
you like
head,
to be fired?
Basically. And as I'm asking these generic questions, my first round of phone interviews, I'm finding a lot of these answers are prompting more questions, and they all have a life of their own. These questions.
So you're it's an ever expanding project that
and
you're
it's a
taking on?
living, breathing project because some agents don't want to answer some questions.
Right.
Some agents have the exact same answer for some questions.
Right.
And some agents, if it's a large office, like offices here in New York, they may have 2 commercial agents, 2 animation agents, et cetera.
Right.
I'll try to interview as many as I can from that
Yeah.
same office. And I'm amazed at in the same office, agents have different opinions.
All the differences.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But what you can do as an actor is, I'm non-union, I live in Kansas City. Which agents am I right for? And what are they looking for in demos?
Oh yeah.
How long should they be?
I think it's brilliant. I think what you've come up with here is.
And the agents have been fantastic. They're like,
Yeah.
this is a great idea.
Yeah.
You know, my goal, and I tell this to the agents, if you guys get 10% fewer inappropriate submissions, that's 10% fewer, oh my God, listen to this, that you have to do.
Right.
And they do listen to every demo, and they like to listen to the crappy demos, and they play the crappy demos for everybody. So don't do a crappy
in the
demo.
office.
Christmas parties.
Listen to this crap. It becomes entertainment.
I was
agents.
I was interviewing an agent yesterday.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I got an email. She goes, "That's from me. When we're done, listen to this demo. It's the most god awful thing. I love it."
Yeah.
She goes, I said, "Are you representing them?" "Oh no, of course not. But I'm sending it to everybody I know. It's so bad."
Do they at least take the guy's name off? Or?
No, and you have to understand, people, that when you submit a demo, the person you're submitting to now owns it. When we got into the business, we would snail mail our demo.
Yeah, exactly.
And whoever you didn't mail it to never knew you had a demo.
If
you post it now.
You send a bad demo out, boom.
Online.
Goes out across the
and
country.
the world not only listens, but they tell everybody else, listen to this shit.
Yeah.
And now you've gone viral and it's killing your career.
Yeah.
So
Advice people can take away from that would
don't
be,
do a demo until you're absolutely ready.
And I'll ask the question of when do you know you're ready?
When you're not asking that question.
There you go.
When somebody says to you, "Are you ready for a demo?" and you say, "I think so," you're not ready.
Yeah.
If somebody says, "Are you ready for a demo?" and your response is, "Yesterday I was ready for abso-fucking-lutely I'm ready. Give me a mic." You're ready.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doubting, God, what if I don't get an agent? What if I don't get a job? Welcome to show business.
Yeah.
But you're either ready for it or you're not.
And there are those few exceptions of people who go, absolutely, I'm ready, and they still have not a clue to what they're doing.
Right.
So hopefully you get a demo producer who basically will be honest with you and say, yeah, why don't you hold off for a little while?
You know, it's, as you know, there are hundreds of demo producers out there, and I'd say 99% are more than happy to take your money.
Sure.
They do what I call the assembly line demo.
Right.
You know, different actor, same demo. Different actor, same demo.
Yeah.
Same music on every 2 demos. Same copy on every 3 demos.
I've actually heard demos where it is actually the same song going throughout with different
Chopped up?
Well, no, with different commercials just
Oh,
underneath the same song. So
Yeah.
so it is something you have to be careful for out there. Okay?
When you know, and this is interesting, Bill. I've talked to some agents who say, I do not want a professionally made demo. I want to hear raw reads because I don't know if they're real or not.
Right.
Then other agents are like, I want you to sound like you're competitive with the people I have doing national spots. And I'd say that's the majority of the agents.
Yeah.
But the diverse answers of the same questions.
Now, did you find that because actors always ask me, you know, I submitted to this agent and the agent said call me back in 6 months. Are the agents just blowing people off, or are they being honest with
asked
them?
that.
Yeah,
I asked that question.
I'm curious. myself.
And what I got was, and again, not every agent answered every question, but from those that answered, if they really did like the demo, but conflicts not right now, when they said resubmit in 6 months, they actually want them to resubmit in 6 months, and they can't understand why that actor did not resubmit in 6 months unless they got representation.
Right.
You know?
No, I mean, but that's really good. That's good to know. That is sound advice. The price of the interview right here for that information.
And, you know, agents have told me, it may not work right now because I've got 5 people in your category, and in 6 months.
And I'm not getting them work, so why would I take on one more?
Or styles have changed.
Right.
You know, they're all of a sudden right now they're looking for, you are, what is that? What does that say?
What does it say, Dave?
You are 30 minutes in.
Oh, we're 30 minutes in.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think that was the name of, wasn't that the porno?
Wait, no, they're still watching.
Wasn't that the porno movie you produced?
No, I don't produce porno.
Oh, you don't?
Just
You're blessing
horror
this
movies.
horror
movies.
Sounds the same.
Okay, well, look, we have some. I put it out in the universe,
and all 3 planets got back to you.
And I was going to be actually that was the title of the porno. I put it out in the universe.
There you go. And she said thank you.
And I got some viewer questions.
Okay.
Before anybody knew about the show, we went out and we got some viewer questions. So I'm going to, and this is primarily, I told people that you were writing a book, and if they have any questions for you.
And by the way, I have to tell you that before I started doing the interviews, I put questions out there, and much of my book is viewers' questions.
Questions.
Yeah. So hit me with
well,
more.
who knows?
Let's see.
We might repeat something here.
Yeah.
I had to do this because I'm getting to the.
I'm going to do this too because misery loves company.
This comes from Shane Schellenberger.
Shane,
I
God
believe
bless
in
him. Hi,
Phoenix.
Shane.
Okay, hello, Shane.
Shane's a good guy.
Now, how do you balance marketing, auditions, and training?
Are you talking about just in general as a voice actor?
Well, it's his question. So
okay, how do you balance doing
how the hell
marketing?
do I know?
How do you, Shane? How do you balance what, Shane? Marketing.
Says, how do you balance marketing, auditions, and training? Then the second follow-up is which marketing arenas deserve the greatest amount of attention?
And does he have
like web page, Twitter, Facebook, phone calls, postcards?
Good. The answer is yes to all of the above.
Okay.
Okay. First of all,
the balancing.
Balancing. Your auditions are going to have a deadline.
Okay.
Okay. So that has priority. If you have an audition that says has to be in tomorrow morning at 9, you can't market tomorrow morning at 8 because you've got auditions to do. So auditions they have a deadline.
Well, let me expand upon the question. Right. How much resources would you suggest somebody put into marketing? You know, with the postcards and the this and the that and all the money you can spend marketing yourself.
Well,
how can you kind of do it without spending too much yet still getting results?
Ask anybody who has a successful business. did you spend just a little bit of money? And they're going to say, no, I invested like a great deal. I took out a small business loan because I knew this was impossible to do and I wanted to do it.
Right.
You can't do a little bit of money. That said, we don't send out snail mail demos anymore.
Right.
I haven't sent out a physical anything in years. It's all done electronically. It doesn't cost me a dime.
Now, electronically speaking, when you send out an MP3 demo, do you in the email put like a little picture?
I send an e-card.
An e-card.
Yeah,
Okay,
I send out an e-card, and the e-card looks like a postcard with it has embedded links, my website, my agent's information. Where and when is just as important as how you market.
Okay.
Nobody really cares that you just exist on the planet. There's got to be a purpose behind your marketing.
Right.
So, my day, here's my day. I wake up, the coffee maker's, it's done.
Yeah.
I go in.
And you have a big statue of the pig in your house.
I have a
don't
big
you?
statue of the pig.
Yeah.
eBay. God love
There's
eBay.
There's a guy who's dedicated to the job.
Yeah, I didn't write it off, IRS. I really didn't. I go in. I've got all my emails from my various agents around the country. Here are your auditions. That's my priority. I get my auditions done because during the day I'm going to get more.
Right.
I work out of my home office.
Right.
I'm there 8 hours a day. If I'm not auditioning, I'm marketing.
Right.
How am I marketing? Well, I'll pick a project. Let's say I want to market to imaging. I do radio imaging.
Right.
So I'm a member of Promax. I have their database. I will be strategic about my marketing. I'm going to hit Arizona, all the radio stations in Arizona today, because that'll take me 8 hours to do.
Sure. Yeah.
And that
And there's that day.
and there's that day. 50 states.
Right.
Imaging, promo, narration. How many different cable
So
channels are there?
you're just a marketing machine.
I am a marketing
that
machine.
You put certain amount of time aside, and here's my auditions, here's my marketing.
But I don't just wake up and say, what should I do today? My book is laid out. I mean, when I get my next year's appointment book in September.
Sure.
And I decide, okay, what am I going to do for my career for 2011?
Right. Yeah.
And I will, on the calendar, each day. This week I'm going to be doing imaging. I'm going to hit 3 states on Monday, 3 states on, et cetera. And I will have a game plan. If you don't have a strategic marketing game plan, you're throwing it up in the air and hoping that it lands face up.
Right.
You've got to be specific. Nobody wants generic in this business. They only want specifics. Specifically, what do you want to do? I'll give you an example. Another reason why I wrote this book.
Okay.
If you want to do promo and trailer, there's a handful of agents that do promo and trailer, and a lot that don't. So if you want to do promo and trailer, you're going to have to market to the agents that have an agent for promo
Have
and trailer,
a promo
which means you also have to have a demo for promo and trailer, which probably means you should have that demo produced by somebody within the promo trailer world because they know what the agents, the buyers are looking for.
Exactly.
Strategic marketing is key. Not just marketing, strategic marketing. If I'm awake, I'm marketing. Teaching is marketing.
Yeah.
So how do you balance it? You just do it.
Yeah.
You just do it because you want it worse than anybody else.
And what about the training? How important do you think training is throughout your career? I mean, yes, I'm a beginner. I'm going to take some classes.
Well, I think the biggest mistake people make is they get that, I'm told I've got a good voice, and they go to take a voiceover class, and they don't know how to act. They don't know improv. I think you should hold off on the voiceover class and study acting and improv. I think improv actually is the most important.
I
think it's
agree with that.
if you have one check for your entire performing career, study improv because it teaches you to get out of your head and make a decision.
Yeah.
Just commit.
Yeah.
The biggest mistake actors make, be it a commercial voiceover actor or a soap actor, is they waver.
Right.
They audition to please rather than commit to their choices.
Right. You don't want to go out there and try to do it the right way. You just want to kind of go out there and
dive
do it.
in and do it.
And if it happens to be the right way, you'll make $500.
You know, the nice thing about voiceover is it's not live anymore, and God created take two.
Yeah.
So you do it. I mean, I don't know what your thing is with copy, but I get the copy, and I'll give them the specs, but then I'll give them what I think will book me that job.
Right.
And sometimes they're the same thing.
Right.
Rarely.
Yeah.
And usually, if I get it, it's my second choice because I just put Bob into it.
Well, you know, I just did a casting thing today for Purina.
Yeah.
And they're looking for voices
For kitties.
of cats.
I read the cats.
Yeah. And it's interesting because
Did they really want like an Asian sounding cat? Because I didn't do that.
I don't know.
All right, fine.
I have no idea.
I'm just asking.
I've worked for these people before though, and they're pretty open to anything that is offensive. But it was.
I didn't do the vagina monologues. I just did different characters.
Well, that's good to know.
Right.
Maybe you should throw that out there. It's like,
if I get a call back, we'll see what happens.
Because you are being a putty.
and waiting for a putty.
No, it was an easy day for me though because they didn't tell me exactly what they wanted the actors to do. They basically said she's kind of needy or whatever, and I just kind of let the actors do. And all the actors looked at me and said, "Wow, that was fun." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was easy."
Well, you probably also called in some really good character actors that you knew they. Listen, you got 4 characters. They could do 44.
Actually,
if you had time.
Tara, you mentioned.
Tara Strong?
I think she was. Okay, so our next question, our last question here.
We have to do this.
Okay, we have to do this. What are some suggestions for getting a VO career started if you live somewhere other than Los Angeles?
Well, there are voiceover agents in every port.
Yeah.
And this book will show you exactly where those ports are. You still need to be a trained actor. You still have to have a top-notch demo.
Right.
And
so say you live in Toledo, Ohio, and there's not a big market there.
There is a big market there.
I'm just saying, let's pretend there's not a big
no
market
in
there.
Toledo.
Yeah, okay. Let's go to Vegas then, because there's no market in Vegas. There are probably going to be people who teach in those markets, but do you think it's worth the money to, say, go to a New York or an LA or a Chicago where the schools are more prominent?
You get what you pay for, and you get whom you pay for, or two. Some really great teachers are Skyping classes now.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
So you can study with people on both coasts if you live in the middle.
Right.
I say this, Bill. What do you want out of your career?
Right.
Do you want to play with the big boys? And if so, you have to study with the big boys, and you have to work on getting representation with the big boys.
Right.
If you want to stick with mediocre, go with God. But it's always going to be mediocre.
Yeah.
If you live in Middle America, you can have a major agent if you're brilliant. If you're brilliant, they want you.
Exactly,
always.
Because they're going to make money off of it.
They want that 10%.
Yeah.
One of the questions I ask the agents is, if an actor leaves you, will you take them back? And some of them say yes. And some of them say, if I think there's money in it, you betcha.
Sure.
And some of them are like, absolutely not.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
everybody's different.
Well, I've left a few agents in my career, my 30 years in this, and every agent I've left...
I think you and I have left some of the same agents.
Yes, we have, together. But every agent I've ever left and said, I think I'm going to go over here, they've always said, the door's always open. So I again, you got to look at it. It is business, and they know that, they were making money off of you at one time, and chances are they could make money off of you in the future. So I don't think they want to burn a bridge either.
Nobody wants to burn a bridge, and the bottom line is they don't know if you're someday going to be directing their talent. So,
very true.
And you don't know if someday they're going to be going to the agency you left them for.
Exactly.
So,
Well, Bob, this has been just...
Did we get a good level, or are we ready to roll now?
Oh, yeah. Should we start the show, Dave?
Turn the
Should
camera
we start
on.
the show? Okay, all right. No, this has been great.
This was
fun. This has been
fun.
great. I appreciate you coming on my very first show. We're hoping that with our show here that we garner. Please tell your friends about it. You can tune in to voiceoverdoctor.com and watch the show. We'll probably put it up on YouTube.
It'll be on bobbergen.com.
It'll be on bobbergen.com.
It'll be on Facebook.
And Facebook. So now you have an event coming up. I don't know. Is it filled up?
What's that?
Vox on the Rocks.
It is.
It's filled up, but
get on my Facebook page.
There you go.
Because I can only take 120. Oh, there's some very mad people at me right now.
Sure.
I can only take 125 people. I've got 140 on the backup list.
Oh my gosh!
I don't think 125 are going to die.
You know what though? We're going to be starting another night once a month.
Bitchin'.
We had a thing. We had Jamaica night. We had Christmas in Jamaica. Come and get your jerk.
Cool.
And it was a big success, and it's over here at Coley's Jamaican Restaurant.
Cool.
And Mr. Coley is begging me to do it again,
Rock on.
so I figured I'll take your
Aren't
spillover.
voiceover people fun?
Yeah.
They like to party.
I got to tell you, I do this because it's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much my classes involve margaritas. They involve beer and pizza. they involve a lot of fun. Usually after our margarita night, we have a class called Margaritas, Mojitos, and Microphones. And after that, after the class, we go to Don Cuco's and we go have a margarita.
There's very little tequila left in Southern California because of
exactly. So yeah, I agree. Voiceover people are fun.
Absolutely.
And it really is a very nice, warm community to be working in.
It is.
It is. So I want to plug your website, bobbergen.com.
There it is.
Go to bobbergen.com, and that explains about all your classes.
Yeah.
And you can hear the Mel Blanc conversation, and I think you have Dawes Butler on there,
I got
too.
Dawes. I got my first demo on there.
Yeah.
That was crap. I've got all kinds of stuff.
It is a fun website to go play around on. Again, voiceoverdoctor.com. Oh, Bob, I wanted to thank you and give you your very own
Couture.
Voiceover Doctor.
Cool.
Voiceover Doctor T-shirt.
Oh, there we go.
And
you too can look like the voice doctor.
Exactly. Voiceover Doctor T-shirts. So you sign up for a class, you get a freaking T-shirt. Okay?
Coolness. Thank you.
All right. So, again, thank you. And
this is fun.
Thank all of you out there. Tune in next month. We'll have somebody else on. I have no idea who it's going to be yet.
I can't wait to see them. This is where I go.
Yeah, that's all, folks.
Because you have to do that.
I was hoping you'd do
Yeah,
that.
I knew you were.
Okay.
All right.
Goodbye, everybody.
You know him, you love him, you want some more of him. The Voiceover Doctor, a real smooth talker. The Voiceover Doctor Show.